The journey of Writefolio has been quite a long one. The previous incarnation of Writefolio was Center for Public Policy Studies. Our first opinion poll was a nationwide opinion poll that we had done for the Hindu. That was way back in 1992. We did a nationwide opinion polling on after the demolition of Babri Masjid, and we have also clubbed the Mandal agitation and its aftermath. That was the beginning, the genesis of Center for Public Policy Studies, which is now Writefolio. And you know, we have been doing election analysis and general opinion polling for the media organizations, for individuals, for political parties. You know, those days the opinion polling and political analysis, that wasn't a very matured kind of a field. It was just the beginning of it. Then when we had the capabilities of collecting huge amounts of data from across the country, and only when there was a huge issue which was of interest to the media houses, to the newspapers or to corporates, and you know, once in a while there were elections and we did election studies, opinion polling, data analytics. In fact, those days the term data analytics was not a very popular term. It wasn't being used, but we did collect huge amounts of data from across the country. But between elections, since we had all these capabilities, we thought we should also go into the market research. We did market research. We went and asked the consumers what they felt about various products, and you know, the companies were interested in knowing what was good about their product, what was the perception of the consumers about their product, how they should improve it, what is the competition, and how the competition is more attractive, whether it is attractive or not, on what counts, etc. And when we were doing this, on the one hand we were doing opinion polling and election analysis, and on the other hand we were also doing market research. When we were doing market research, we started talking to the clients, talking to the corporates and saying, look, this is your product and this has its strengths, the following ones. Then you know, the competition has these strengths. And then we started also saying that, look, if you position your brand like this, if you position your product like this, it is going to be more popular in the market. Your sales would improve. The satisfaction level on that particular aspect is low and this particular aspect it is high. You know, this is the kind of analysis that we were able to give to the client. And the client started saying that, you know, just the market research, if you tell us, you know, these many people wanted this, these many people liked it, these many people did not like it, this is how the competition was performing. If this is the analysis that you are giving, and if you are able to also club it with how to project our brand, how to make our brand more visible, how to take it nearer to the people, how to make it more acceptable, how to make it a household name. If you can give a strategy for this and also help us to position our brands, that would be much more helpful. Then we from there graduated into branding. You know, we entered the space of branding. From political analysis, from opinion polling, market research, and then branding. And then, you know, the corporates have a need to communicate about their brand, about their products to the general consumer, to the market. Then slowly the clients started asking us, you know, tell us how to communicate this particular thing. Tell us how do we, you know, talk about our product, talk about our brand. What are the mediums that are available and how best to leverage those mediums. You know, initially at that time, the social media was not very popular. It wasn't even there initially. So the mainstream media, the television, the print, and then the hoardings and the out of home platforms, and then comes slowly the social media, you know, the YouTube and Twitter, the Facebook and Instagram, radio, etc., etc. And it became, the portfolio became a little more widespread. So that is how we entered into the corporate communications. Now, corporate communications is not only a communication between the corporate and the public, but huge corporations will have to talk to themselves within, internally. So, to their employees, other stakeholders, between and among a lot of divisions. So, internal communications as well as the external communications. So, political analysis, opinion polling, market research, and then branding, and then communications, internal communications as well as the external communications. And then see, brands will have to walk the talk. A branding agency, a communications agency, a market research agency like ours, we can tell the corporate, look, this is how we can project your brand, your product. But then if the brand will have to be sustained in the market, if the brand name and the brand strength will have to continue in the market, the brand will have to perform. Therefore, and in order to make the brand perform, the product perform well and meet the expectations of the market, of the consumers, then the people behind it will have to be skilled, competent, and they have to execute their tasks properly, which takes us to the human resources, HR. You need to recruit good people, talented people, skilled people, in order to see that the brand really walks the talk. So, therefore, we entered into the domain of HR. We started helping. The corporate or the client would say, well, you are telling us, this is how your brand is perceived by the market, and this is how we should communicate internally and externally, and this is how our brand will have to be placed or projected, positioned. This is what you say. But then we also need good people to run it. Why don't you help us with that? So we started helping them in recruiting. And once you recruit, what happens is that these days the skills are fast changing, the requirements are very fast changing. There were days when you studied up to your graduation or post graduation, and your education is over, and then starts you start working for another 20 years or 30 years till you retire. But today the education doesn't come to an end once you start working. In fact, the demands on the reskilling, upgradation of your skills nowadays is much more after you get into the job. So, therefore, what happens is that your HR, once it is recruited, they need to be completely and constantly being upgraded. Now, we did not get into the larger area of training, but we got into, therefore, into the space of conferences. Instead of putting them through a long period of training or retraining, what we thought is that at the apex level, the CEOs, the presidents, the vice presidents, the marketing heads, etc., they should come together, people belonging to different corporates, several corporates, they come together and they spend an evening or an afternoon or a day, depending on the domain, depending on the topic. They sit together. We bring in competent people in that domain, both from the academia as well as from the practicing. People who have had huge experience in this particular domain. They talk and interact. Therefore, what happens is, once an executive enters into the conference organized by Rightfolio, by the time he or she leaves the conference, they will have upgraded their skills, their knowledge, and learned from their peers, not only from the resource person. They would have learned from them, and then learned the best practices from each other. That would have saved a huge number of hours of reading. If you have to get the knowledge or information that you would otherwise get in a conference in half a day, in a couple of hours or a day, that would have, you would have to spend about 30, 40, 50 hours of reading if you need to get that. But then just by coming together, sitting in a conference organized by Writefolio, you would have got that. Not only that, you would have had a wonderful networking, because you are there together with people who are working in the same domain or different domains from different corporates, different towns, different cities, probably different countries. Talk to them. You get a lot of networking benefits also. So this is how Center for Public Policy Studies, the previous incarnation of Writefolio and now Writefolio, started with political analysis, opinion polling, then market research, then communications, internal communications, external communications, then branding, then HR, and then conferences. This is how the portfolio has grown, and this is, in essence, in brief, this is what Writefolio does.